Hello, I'm Chris Williams, and today we're going to be reviewing Good Omens Episode 2. Here we begin the episode back in about the 1600s with the good witch Agnes Nutter. Well, I would say her friend there, who's a witch finder, Mr. Adulterer, literally that's his name, Adulterer or something. He pretty much hates her. Well, that's all good and proper for someone like him, but old Agnes there is a witch who's made a book of prophecies, and she's come up with her own little prophecy right here. You see her almost smiling a bit as he's tying her down to burn her at the stake. She's got a secret. I won't spoil it for you, but it's rather funny and mind-blowing what she does to him. But either way, she left a book for her daughter. It's a book of her prophecies, and she told her to keep handing that book down through the family. It'll make them rich. It will also help one of Agnes's descendants, Anathema Nutter, find the Antichrist and hopefully defeat him before he can destroy the world. At least this is what Anathema hopes to do. Here we have the Archangel Gabriel talking to Azuraphale about the Antichrist. Gabriel wants to know what the Antichrist is up to, and Azuraphale does his best to say everything is fine, because in actuality he has no idea where the Antichrist is. Gabriel asks because the Hellhound has been released, and it's most likely with the Antichrist this moment. Azuraphale wouldn't know anything about that. He only knows the dog is missing, along with its master. And he does his best to sway any worries they have. Afterwards, after Gabriel has left, Azuraphale goes to see Crowley. They make plans on how to deal with this. Most likely they think this had something to do with the nuns and the hospital. Crowley says to Azuraphale they made sure to go and give the child to an American senator. Now they both know that didn't actually happen. So they go to the hospital and they found it's basically become a kind of retreat for people who are in businesses to basically play war games, one of those paintball games and stuff. And Crowley and Azuraphale get hit with paintballs. Of course, Azuraphale isn't too angry about it, but Crowley transforms into a demon face and scares the guy who shot him unconscious. They find out that the baby had been switched by the nun Crowley had given the baby to, but she had ended up giving it to another family whose child was being delivered that day. Here we have the descendant of the witch finder from the beginning of the episode, a guy who constantly gets fired from jobs because whenever he tries to get a job, he gets fired from it because of some insane thing having to do with computers, where the computer blitzes out and wipes out all the power in the building he's working at. Here we see the dog, the Hellhound. Well, not so much a Hellhound anymore because the Antichrist had turned it into a fluffy little puppy. But this is what it originally looked like before it was given its name Dog and turned into a little cuddly little dog. Him and the Antichrist are getting along great. His friends and him are still wondering how or why his parents allowed him to keep the dog, and he says it was my birthday. Here we see Anathema, Agnes's great-great-granddaughter, looking for the Antichrist. She hopes to kill him and prevent the end of the world. And she's constantly looking for the Antichrist, but guess what happens? She runs into him and his friends. Only the Antichrist, Adam, is just an ordinary boy. And they talk to each other, and Adam says he and his friends are pretending to be witch hunters, because they were talking about it earlier. Mainly because they heard that witch had moved into a new house, and they ran across Anathema as they were playing at being witch hunters. Now, she looks sort of disturbed by that fact, But even though they say that they were going to torture one of their friends for being a witch, all they really do is put him in a tire swing and just swing him around. One of the kids gets tired of that, saying that it should be his turn next to be tortured. Anathema leaves them to continue playing and having fun while she continues to look for the Antichrist, not knowing she had just bumped into him and his friends. And she leaves them, and they continue to play and stuff, but Agnes continues to look for the Antichrist. Now, Aziraphale and Crowley continue to have some fun. Well, Crowley's having fun at the paintball course. Crowley makes all the guns actually real, and Aziraphale's horrified at first, but then Crowley says, "Oh, don't worry, no one's going to die. They'll miraculously make instant saves and just get out of the way of the bullets just before they actually hit any of them." And as they're talking about this, Sister Mary Loquicious ends up bumping into them. She says she didn't want to interfere with their having a private moment, but then she recognizes Crowley. Crowley instantly recognizes her, and before she can freak out saying Master Crowley, he hypnotizes her, and then both Aziraphale and Crowley ask her questions about what happened. From her, they realized it was her fault that the Antichrist went to the wrong family. So they go out looking for the Antichrist, and eventually they run into our friend Anathema, Aziraphale, and Crowley when they end up hitting her when she was on her bike. Now, there's hijinks in this episode that are really good. The fact that they ended up running into a woman and not killing her is basically shows you just how powerful Aziraphale is, because he heals her wounds, and he also fixes her bike. Now, she realizes that something isn't amiss because she realizes her bike has been altered. But Aziraphale, when they finally drive her back to her house, Aziraphale then transforms the bike back into its original state. Because Anathema noticed her bike had gears suddenly when it didn't have gears before the crash. Now, she could chalk that up to somehow being a little bit out of her mind from being hurt a bit, or at least banged up. But when she got back to her house, the bike had no gears on it. Well, she thanked them and they left. But when Aziraphale got home, he noticed the book that had been written by Agnes Nutter. Now he spends the rest of the night reading it. And he ends up using the knowledge in it to find the Antichrist. Because of the number of the beast, 666, and then putting it with an area code, he was able to call the Antichrist's house. He calls Adam's house. He ends up talking to Adam's father. Now, Aziraphale hangs up the phone, but he's happy that he's found Adam. Now, both him and Crowley are going to spend what little time they have left trying to convince the boy not to end the world. Time passes and the young family go to bed. Adam's parents talk about how they allowed their son to keep dog. And Adam's father says he just looked at his son and the dog, and they said they were just made for each other. His mother asks, the dog's still outside, right? Oh, and Adam's father says, yes, I made sure of that. But guess what happened? Adam snuck dog into his room, and they end up sleeping together, all snug and comfy in Adam's bed. Now, this is where we begin to see Adam's power. Even though he's asleep, we see something almost, or whether we feel a force coming off of him. Stuff in his room doesn't actually move that around that much, but there appears to be a wind or something just getting ready to explode out of him. And this is where the episode ends. It's a funny and great show. I really enjoyed this episode. I would say the only real fault I have in it is that this is a British comedy. It might not be to the liking of everyone who's an American, but I really want to see the next episode, and I recommend it to you as well. Now, if you like this review, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit that bell. I want you to get every notification for my future videos. Also, hit that like button and leave some comments down below. And remember, keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. I really want you to check it out. It'll be good. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow.